Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, senators and the Marcos camp believe that the Supreme Court cannot stop the canvassing of votes for president. The High Court orders all parties to comment on the petition to cancel the candidacy of Bongbong Marcos. Petitioners welcome the SC's move, hoping that the 15-day period to comment will not be extended. Marcos's lawyer, Attorney Estelito Mendoza, and petitioner's lawyer, Theodore Te, join us live. The Supreme Court orders Bongbong Marcos, COMELEC, and the Senate and the lower house to comment on a petition to cancel the presumptive president's candidacy. Petitioners welcome the move, but hopes the Supreme Court will not extend the period to comment. Senate leaders Tito Soto, Franklin Drilon, and the Marcos camp earlier said that the High Court cannot stop the canvassing of the votes. Let's go straight to the source of the story. First off, Marcos's lawyer, Attorney Estelito Mendoza. Attorney Mendoza, welcome to The Source. It's good to see you again. Let me already ask my first question. You filed a respondent's manifestation on the TRO that was previously filed by petitioner's Father Buenafe et al. What was stated here was Article 7, Section 4 of the Constitution, which basically talks about the role of the executive in relation to the canvassing of the votes and also the terms of the president and vice president. Can you please tell us more about this manifestation?
What I would like to emphasize is that the Constitution is very clear. It deals with the situation such as what we have now, step by step. First of all, it provides that the term of the president shall begin at noon on the 30th day of June next following the day of the election, and shall end at noon of the same date 6 years thereafter. By this provision, the term of President Duterte shall end on June 30, 6 years after his election. On the other hand, what happens after an election is also explicitly provided in the Constitution. It requires that the returns of every election for president and vice president duly certified by the Board of Canvassers of each province shall be transmitted to the Congress, directed to the President of the Senate. Upon receipt of the certificates of canvass, and this again is very clear, the President of the Senate shall not later than 30 days after the day of the election open all the certificates in the presence of the Senate and the House of Representatives in joint public session, and the Congress, upon determination of the authenticity and execution thereof in the manner provided by law, canvass the votes. The person having the highest number of votes shall be proclaimed elected. So, his Constitution deals with this situation step by step, and there is no way, no discretion given on any intervening matter in this process. So it is clear that the President Duterte has mandated shall end at noon on June 30. On June, and the term of the new president shall begin on June 30 following the election.
I understand. These are contained in Article 7, Section 4 of the Constitution. What I want to find out from this manifestation is that, does this mean, here's my question, does this mean that any questions on candidates and even possibly the conduct of the polls cannot be elevated to the Supreme Court, and can they not be able to ask for a TRO?
Well, that will have to be done through an election protest. Not at this time, but at this time, the Constitution provides step by step what shall be done with the votes that are cast in the election, the canvassing of votes by the Board of Canvassers of each province and municipality, their transmittal to the President of the Senate, and the President of the Senate has also a time within which he shall have them open before the Senate and the House of Representatives in joint public session.
Okay, so again, understandably, this talks about certain provisions or Article 7, Section 4 of the Constitution. Here's what I want to ask Attorney Mendoza. I want to go to an article also in the Constitution which talks about the mandate of the judiciary.
Well, in the article on the judiciary, on the jurisdiction of the court, of judicial power, the courts of justice shall be entitled to consider questions involving rights which are legally demandable and enforceable. You must know that the rights must be legally demandable and enforceable. Now, if you consider the provisions of the Constitution that deals with the canvassing of votes, there are no rights that are legally demandable other than what are provided explicitly by the Constitution.
What we're doing right now is we're showing you, I want to put that back on air, that's Section 1, Article 8 of the Constitution. While we see what is written there, I believe there is a second paragraph, and here's my question. It also states that judicial power includes the determination whether or not there has been grave use of discretion amounting to lack or excess of jurisdiction. Can this not be used to further defend the petitioner's position that there could have been lack or grave use of
the
discretion?
determination of the grave abuse of discretion depends also on what the law provides. Grave abuse of discretion cannot arise on a vacuum. It must be dependent on what the law provides. So, in the ultimate, it is linked to what the first clause provides, that there must be rights which are legally demandable and enforceable.
The Supreme Court also asked all camps to comment on the petition filed within 15 days. How does the camp of Bongbong Marcos intend to respond to this 15 days given to be able to comment on the petition?
What must be noted is that the Supreme Court asked the respondents, that means BBM, to comment, not to answer the petition. There is a difference between being required to comment and being required to answer. When the respondents are required to answer, they might assume there is some prima facie basis for the petition. But in this case, what the court required is merely for the respondents to comment. You must remember that this issue was resolved by the COMELEC division first, the second division, and then this was elevated to the COMELEC and bank, and now it's before the Supreme Court, so that this issue does not come to the Supreme Court in a vacuum. It has gone through the process before the COMELEC, first before the division, and then en banc. And that is probably why the Supreme Court required merely the respondents to comment and not to answer the petition.
Okay. Attorney Estelito Mendoza, sir, thank you so much for your time. And coming up, petitioners give their side on the Supreme Court's failure to stop the canvassing of votes. Lawyer Theodore Te joins us live after the break. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Let's go to our next source for today, petitioner's lawyer Theodore Te. Attorney Te, welcome back to The Source. And also, thank you for your time. I'm going to start my questioning para po makarami tayo. Attorney Estelito Mendoza, obviously BBM's camp through Attorney Mendoza, was stating a while ago, and it's part of their manifestation, ito mong Article 7, Section 4 of the Constitution. Basically, it talks about the role of the executive in relation to two things, the canvassing of votes and terms of the president. And basically, he's saying the Constitution states that these are mandatory, that the legislative branch of government should do this, and that he says the camp of BBM is saying the Supreme Court is without jurisdiction to prevent them from doing this. Your reaction, sir?
Okay, Pinky, we haven't read the manifestation yet, no? Nalaman lang namin na merong final to the media. And so and also because it is now pending, I will reserve comment on the manifestation itself. But let me just address yung Section 4 in relation to the petition. What we have asked the court is not to restrain the canvassing itself. We have only asked that any restraint be focused directly only on the particular candidacy of Mr. Marcos. Yun lang naman. Kasi malinaw naman po ang Section 4 that this is what is supposed to happen next, no? After the elections, that Congress will convene. And so, we're not asking that the court stop the canvassing. We're only asking that the court stop the canvassing as far as the particular candidacy is concerned, because there's only one candidacy that's being questioned in this petition for certiorari to the Supreme Court from the COMELEC and bank.
Okay, but Attorney Ted, that's still asking the Supreme Court to issue a TRO on the canvassing of Bongbong Marcos, right?
Yes, because that's the only recourse, unfortunately, Pinky. As far as courts are concerned, if we want to stop or restrain something from being done, which to our mind may actually render any petition moot and academic, yun lang po talaga yung legal remedy na binibigay ng batas. And so that is why we have asked for that. But if we read the petition, malino naman po na ang hinihingi namin is a very narrow application only of the restraining order, any restraining order that will be issued, and only directed against the particular candidate
Yeah,
whose candidacy is being questioned.
But
Yun
Attorney,
lang naman po.
Apo, so because they had mentioned no in their manifestation to your petition, section 4 of the Constitution, again, as we mentioned that a while ago, if for example, for the sake of argument, the Supreme Court issues a TRO as what your group is asking, wouldn't that be tantamount to violating the mandate of Congress and even encroach into the possible independence of a co-equal branch of government?
Again, Pinky, let me beg to not address that question specifically because we may have to address it
Okay.
Officially
Fair
before
enough.
the court. No? Kasi we have not read the manifestation. We will probably file any appropriate pleading. So hindi ko muna sasagutin po.
Sige. I
Pasensya na.
understand,
Yes.
no?
Sure.
We're also constrained, siguro, you're constrained rather by certain limitations because of this being asked by you're asking the Supreme Court to look into this. Okay. But I guess as a layman, if I were to try to understand kung ano ang kapangyarihan ng Kongreso na i-canvass yung votes at i-proclaim, and then you have the judiciary who can look into certain siguro complaints and yun na nga, grave abuse of discretion. Ito ho bang grave abuse of discretion or lack of by the COMELEC is being used by your camp to further this case of canceling the certificate of candidacy of Bongbong Marcos?
No, Pinky, because this is actually a petition for certiorari that is not originally filed with the Supreme Court. No? Galing po kami sa COMELEC, Second Division, umakyat ng NBank according to the rules of the COMELEC and according to the law. And therefore, under the rules, once there is a decision by the COMELEC and bank which we disagree with, under the rules,
You
the
can
recourse is to
elevate
file
it.
a petition for certiorari. So it is not as if we are asking for a review in an original action, which actually the second paragraph of Section 1, Article 8 refers to, no? Yung expanded judicial power to review, no? Ito, ordinary course, umaakyat talaga siya eh. So, if it were any other person whose name appears on the candidacy, ganun din naman ang pwedeng gawin eh.
Opo.
Galing sa division, packet ng NBank, packet ng Supreme Court. Ganun ho talaga yung proseso.
At matagal na
So-
pong pinag-uusapan yon. Kung matalo ho kayo sa COMELEC, i-elevate ito. The natural or normal course of action would be to elevate this to the Supreme Court. I guess the question is the TRO. Hindi ho ba? Kasi dito po lumalabas yung sinasabi ng Marcos camp na hindi pwede to kasi may mandato ang Kongreso para i-canvass at i-proclaim yung winner. And I know that you can't really delve on this a lot because this could be your defense. Okay. What is your reaction though? Ito na lang po on this fact that the Supreme Court has asked all parties to comment within 15 days. Ibig sabihin po nito, in 15 days, and you said, we hope this is not extendable, matutuloy po yung canvassing of votes next week. Hence, if the canvassing of votes proceeds next week, matutuloy po yung proclamation. What is your reaction na lang to that?
Again, Pinky, we saw the resolution of the court, and again, we said we're glad that the court directed the respondents to comment. And I think the court was very specific in the resolution without acting on the petition at all. The court essentially is saying that we want to hear from the respondents, but we are not actually saying that the petition is going to be granted. And also, the court also directed the respondents to comment on the application for TRO, which means wala pang TRO. So unfortunately, again, within the 15-day period, wala ngang TRO na inisyu ang court. And which is why we're hoping that sana, hindi na po ma-extend yung 15-day period because the sooner that the court can act, if it decides to act on the petition, I think the better because the issue will then be settled.
Let me be very direct with this. Because they did not issue a TRO, is that petition, that particular petition with the Supreme Court asking for a TRO, is that moot and academic? Because by next week, by all probability, Bongbong Marcos will be proclaimed.
Not yet, Pinky. Unless the Supreme Court says so, I do not believe it is moot and academic because the court can still decide. No, there have been instances in the past when the court has taken on a case, even though it would appear, on the face to be moot and academic, and the court has decided on the issues as if they were viable and live issues. So again, siguro antayin natin yung korte kung anong gagawin nila. We will essentially wait for what the court says, no?
Yeah.
And so as far as the resolution is concerned, walang TRO na in-issue, pinapa-comment po yung respondent, so aantayin po namin yung comment nila. Now, in the meantime, under Section 4, Congress will convene, Congress will perform its duty. Now, should there be a proclamation, then again, we will wait for the court, no? Yun naman po ang prosesong legal no? We have to abide by the court's decision because this is the path that we have taken, which is to follow the legal process all the way until the end. No?
Okay, we need to take a very short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, the petitioner's lawyer, Theodore Te. Attorney Te, so let's just say Bongbong Marcos is proclaimed next week. What's next for your group? What are the likely scenarios?
Well, again, no, I'm not going to speculate siguro, but we will wait. Again, we will wait for what the court will say. Now, if the court acts on the petition, we will see what the court does. If the court rules that it is moot and academic, pag-uusapan namin kung anong ibig sabihin noon, no? Dahil but let me just siguro stress, Pinky, that this issue is one that has been decided by the Supreme Court in other races, no? Local, Congress, but it has never been decided as far as the presidency is concerned.
This
and
is
so
a
that's
first.
why yes, this is a first, no? So sa tingin namin mahalagang umakto yung Supreme Court, no? Dahil merong mga desisyon ng Korte Suprema tungkol sa role ng COMELEC in relation to cancellations of certificates of candidacy. Na ang sinasabi ng Supreme Court, duty ng COMELEC yan Pag nakita na nila na talagang dapat i-cancela, dapat i-cancela na kahit na walang nag-file ng petition. And so, we believe it's an important issue. And so, we hope that the court will actually act. But as far as what's next, mahirap sabihin, Pinky, dahil siyempre, hindi pa naman gumagalaw ang korte.
Pero siguro, Attorney Te, yung natural course kasi, yung makikita po natin next week is the canvassing of votes. Because even senators are saying this could actually cause a constitutional crisis because it is the job, it is the mandate under Section 4 of the Constitution, Article 8 ho ba yun, na i-canvass at i-proclaim yung mananalo pong kandidato. So, are you threading on, I don't know, possible, siguro a very thin line here between siguro the independence of a co-equal branch of government asking the Supreme Court to issue a TRO?
No, we do not believe so, Pinky. In the past, the court has acted, no. Alam mo yung papel ng Supreme Court, no, is to mediate, no. There is a balance. There is supposed to be a balance of power among the three branches of government, and many times the court is called upon to mediate that balance, no, between, let's say, the executive and the legislative, no. In this case, the court is being called upon to see, no, if there is anything that should be restrained as far as Congress's power to canvass is concerned. Again, let me siguro reiterate, in the petition, we have not called upon Congress to stop the canvass. We have called upon the court to see if they should restrain the canvass as to a specific person. Yun lang. Hindi namin sinasabi, itigil yung canvass for all other candidates.
Yeah.
Yun lang kasing isang
But
kandidato na sinasabi namin hindi valid yung certificate.
But
Yun kasi yung resulta
I understand what you're saying there, Attorney Te, but you're asking the court to look into the possible, siguro itigil yung pagka-canvass ng isang particular candidate who actually is the leading candidate. Hindi ho ba? I mean, that's the thing.
Well,
He's the presumptive
again,
president, no?
Yeah, well, again, Pinky, unfortunately, the law does look at this thing, no, with blinders, effectively. No, it does not look at the number of votes. It looks at the document, and if the document, you can actually remove the name if the document does not give rise to a valid candidacy, then the court should say so. Yun naman po yung papel ng korte. Kaya nga nakapiring si Lady Justice, di ba? Ganun dapat yun eh. So
fact,
again, we're saying that if we are right and the court agrees with us, no? If the court agrees with us, then there was no valid candidacy. Yun lang naman po yung question na dinulog namin sa korte.
Because it's good to note this, Attorney Te, that asking for, yung TRO, nandun din po kasi yung reverse and set aside the decision of the COMELEC upholding the candidacy of Bongbong Marcos, cancel and declare void ab initio the certificate of candidacy. So meron pa po kasing iba doon, ano? And in your petition, nakasulat nga po, the will of the people through the ballots cannot cure the vice of ineligibility. That's why you started with that, I guess.
Those are the words of the court, Pinky. We're just quoting the words of the court. Galing sa kanila yun, hindi galing sa amin. Binabalik lang po namin sa korte dahil nga ang dinudulog namin sa korte ay sinabi na ninyo dati to eh, no? So can we ask that the court rule on this issue? Again, this is a case of first impression. This is a first time that the question will be posed as far as a presidential candidacy is concerned.
Right.
As far as the other reliefs prayed for, Pinky, which you just quoted, no? Yun po yung final relief na hinihingi namin. Kung halimbawa, pagbigyan kami ng Korte Suprema at sabihin ng Korte Suprema, o sige, dinggin natin tong petition na to at kung sakasakali sabihin ng Korte Suprema, sumasang-ayon kami sa petitioners, no? Ganun yung hinihingi namin. Kasi nga, in previous instances, where the court has canceled a candidacy, no, not for president, but for any other post, no, that has been the result, that the candidacy is declared void ab initio from the very start. No valid candidacy. Yun naman po yung treatment ng court in other situations. So sinasabi namin, first time to in relation to a presidential candidacy. So if the court will agree, baka ito yung treatment. Yun lang po hinihingi namin, but it's actually up to the court to decide. That's what the legal process is all about, and that's what the rule of law is all about.
And surely at some point we're going to find or see some clarity regarding this. Attorney Theodore Te, sir, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Pinky. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. And before we go, I would like to thank the 19th Gawad Tanglao Awards. I'm honored to receive the Gantimpalang Dr. Debbie Francisco Dianco para sa sining at pang-madlang komunikasyon. CNN Philippines Rico Hizon and The Final Word also won the Best News Anchor and Best Newscast, respectively. To all our guests, our viewers, and to the men and women of CNN Philippines, thank you. Maraming salamat for making this possible. This will serve as an inspiration for us to continue delivering news you can trust. Muli, maraming salamat, Gawad Tanglao, sa pagkilala. And thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.